Welcome back to the channel, guys, and today I'm going to be doing a kit review on this rucksack right here, which is the Savotta Kantamus 40 litres. So Savotta then, to those that haven't used any of their kit before, it's made over in Finland. It's absolutely bomb-proof kit, and this is a relatively new rucksack that's only been out, I think it's about 6 months or something now. I bought this pretty much as soon as it came out, and I was really excited to check this out, because just looking at it online on their website, it looked like they'd really upped their game with their rucksacks. I've previously owned some of their gear before, but it looked like they'd addressed a lot of the problems that I saw in previous designs, and I'll go into that as I go through this review. So as I normally do with my reviews, what I'm going to do is I'll talk through the specifications of the pack. I'll talk about the functions and features of the pack. I'll talk about how I see it being best used. I'll then go through pros and cons, and then I'll summarise at the end. So with that being said, let's get into it. Right then, so before I go into the specifications of the Kantamus itself, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a little bit of a comparison between the Kantamus and the Carriage medium, which is on the right there. Now, yes, this is a bit bigger. You can see it's a bit bigger. This is 40 litres. I think this is like 37 litres or something like that. But what I'll say is they've addressed a lot of the things that I found as a little bit of shortcomings with this pack here. First thing, okay, so the lid here doesn't have external access. So if I pop that open now, yeah, there's a zip pocket inside the lid, but you've got to take the lid open. You've got to open it up before you can get to it. So there's no external access, which I found to be a little bit of a pain. I'll go more into the detail with the Kantamus as I go through it with that. Secondly, the shoulder straps. The shoulder straps aren't brilliant on this. They're relatively, well, they're very thin. The actual, look how thin those shoulder straps are, okay? So if you're carrying a serious load with this, it does spread the load left to right on the shoulder straps, but there's not a lot of padding there, okay? Also with the shoulder straps, there's no load lifters there. Okay, so you know that helps stabilize the load. If you could pack this out quite with heavy loads if you'll use it for military use. So yeah, there's no load stabilization. Next thing, so the waist strap. Now this is kind of a cross between a day sack and I don't know, a couple of day pack, but I've stayed out overnight with this. I used this on my E&E challenge that I did. So the waist strap, it's all right, but it's not brilliant, okay? Again, really thin straps there. It does an okay job, but if you start loading it up, it doesn't give you the best support for supporting the load, okay? So there's a couple of little things that I noticed with the Carriage medium that I think has been addressed really well with this pack here. So let's get into the functions and features of this one. So specifications of the pack then. The material is 1000D cordura for the most part of the pack, which means it's super robust. And in other parts of it, they've gone down to 500D cordura for a little bit of weight saving. Dimensions then, so it's 60 centimeters from top to bottom. It's 30 centimeters left to right, and it's 22 centimeters front to back. Carriage then, so the main compartment of this is 40 litres, and then the top compartment here, the lid, that's 8 litres. So actually, even though it's called the 40 litre pack, it's actually a 48 litre pack, and that's without adding side pouches and stuff like that to it. The weight of the pack then empty is 2.4 kilos or 5.3 pounds. And that's pretty much the specifications of the pack right there then. So then going through the functions and features of the pack, top to bottom, back to front, and on the inside then. Starting from the top, the lid is 8 litres in capacity, so it can carry quite a bit. You can pack that out quite a bit, which I really like personally in a lid, so you can get to all your bits and pieces, your smaller items and your things you need to grab quickly. On the very top of the pack here then, what you've got is some bungee cord that comes pre-attached, which is great for just stowing stuff underneath there really quickly. The main access to the lid is a zipped pocket there then, and you can get, like I say, you can get loads in there. I've got what I normally carry in there, and there's still loads and loads of space in there, so you can pack that out really nicely. What is cool though is on the front of the lid here then, what you've got here is another zipped access with a D-ring inside. So if you need to put something valuable in there, you can secure it. So I'll grab my keys out there then. You can secure your keys with a little carabiner or something in there. And it's got, you know, 2 zips there so you can access it from either side. And that's really handy. Then there's a Velcro field there for your morale patches. Obviously, Alien saves lives and all that good stuff. And the lid is completely detachable as well. So if we have a look over here, what we've got is 2 buckles there and there. You see the tape's come away a little bit on that one. I've taped them down because I'll take that off actually. See how long those straps are there? I don't particularly like having that flapping around next to my head. On a windy day that could flick you in the ear. So it'd be better if they're strap tidies on there or something. But anyway, or even just a piece of elastic. Anyway, this is completely detachable. You can take that completely off, and you can actually, I believe, replace this lid with some of the other pouches that Savotta do. So that's another function that they've got with their packs. Okay, then if we just go back to the front of the pack there, then what we've got is the 2 main closure straps. Nothing fandango about that, but what's nice about it is you've got the PALS webbing across there, and they can hold the straps in place. Okay, so what we've got is, what's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of PALS webbing by 6 columns left to right. So quite a big field there for adding pouches and stuff on the front, so that's pretty cool. On the bottom of the pack then, what we've got is some more PALS webbing there. So we've got 2 lines of it, so 2 lines of 6. So you can add more straps on the bottom there. So if you wanted to put on like a roll mat or a dry bag with something else in, or a tent or something like that, you've got the option there. On the sides of the pack then, what you've got here is you've got more PALS webbing, so lots of function there to fit extra pouches and stuff. I've left this one free so you can see what it looks like, so you can see the fields bare. And then at the bottom there you've got like a sort of open elasticated pocket. Now this isn't designed for water bottles, even though a water bottle will fit in there. If you do, it's relatively sort of narrow though. What you'd have to do is make sure your water bottle was a relatively long one, and you could strap it down with that compression strap there. That wouldn't be a problem. But what this is designed for is securing your tools. So if you get an axe or something, you can stick the head of the axe in there and then use the compression straps to just secure it tight in place. So that's what that's actually designed for. You could also, for military use, you could use that for putting in, say, a mortar round or a law like a 66 or something like that. You could put the base of it there and then just use your compression straps to hold it tight. But obviously that can hold lots of good stuff in there, tripods and all sorts of things. So that's the side there. Obviously the other side is exactly the same, but what I've done just to demo is I've put on a 6-litre side pouch. So this is what I normally go for, just to organise your kit a little bit better. The side compression straps thread through these straps here, keep it nice and tidy. And then these are obviously Savotta side pouches, and you give you access to your stuff. So I've got a basher in there with plenty of space as well. Okay then, a couple of unusual features then. What we've got on this one, this is great, these zips here. So these don't go into the main pack. This whole front panel here is a big open flap kit with this zip access on the side. So on this side you've got that, and that's great for putting in flat items like maps. You could put in a waterproof jacket, you could put a folded flat tarp in there, So that's a great feature. I really like that. And you could have, you know, your stuff in there you want to get quick access to, but you might want to separate. So imagine you've got a wet tarp, you might not want to put that inside if you haven't got a side pouch on like this. So that's a great feature. So on the opposite side, what you've got is zips on this side as well, but this goes into the main compartment. All right, so inside here I've got one big dry bag, but if you had kit packed in separate dry bags, for example your warm jacket or something, in a certain dry bag you could grab that out and then just zip up that side again and then do up your compression straps. So that's the top, the bottom, the front and the sides covered. What I'll do now is I'll go around and cover the back of the pack and the carriage system. So I mentioned a minute ago about their improvements on the carriage system. What I'll do now is I'll talk through it exactly how it is laid out and what they've done. So first and foremost, these shoulder straps are far, far better than what you've got on the Jacari series of packs. You've got a very good amount of pad in there. I mean, that looks like, I don't know, maybe about a centimetre or the best part of a centimetre, which gives you far better comfort when carrying heavy loads. At the top, you've also got something that was missing on the last one, is load lifter straps there. Okay, so that's going to give you much better stability when carrying heavy loads. So that's perfect. On the top, you've got a good grab handle as well, and the good thing about that is you can literally just stuff it underneath the top flap and you don't even know it's there. But when you need to use it, you can just reach in there and grab it. So that's cool. On the shoulder straps as well, what you've got is a couple of loops of molly webbing, which is great for, you know, if you need to attach, say, a radio pouch or whatever, or just hook something on there. So that's brilliant. You've got a decent sternum strap, okay? So not one of these namby-pamby ones. So a good solid sternum strap that's what you need for a big pack like this. And this is removable. You can just take it off completely if you don't want to use it, or if you need to move it up and down, it's you can move it up and down the webbing straps here, and there's sewn on sections, so you can move it up and down in between those sewn on sections there. So this shoulder strap then is attached a D-ring here, metal D-ring. This pack is basically just sturdy as all the way through, but I'm quite impressed with that. And basically you can replace that in the field really easily. So you just take that off, loop that back through itself, and if this was damaged you could replace that really easily. I've actually tied a knot in the end of that strap there, by the way, because it was just flat. So, you know, I've found out to my detriment before when I was serving, if you just have a flat strap, let's get this undone. You just have a flat strap like that on the end. It's too easy when you're lifting this up for that just to feed all the way through. I would have preferred that to have the standard sort of sewing, like sew on the end. I think that would have been better. But anyway, the back system itself is great. So a nice decent bit of padding here, a great lumbar pad at the bottom there, supports the weight really well in conjunction with these great shoulder straps. So what you can also do here, you see you've got a metal fixture just there. You can actually change these as well. So you just undo the strap there and you can change this entire shoulder strap if need be. Okay. So one quite unusual feature of this pack, you undo a Velcro piece there and you've got this bit here. You've got a foam pad that gives you the protection against your back. So you can actually take that out and use it as a sit mat if required, okay? But that gives you a nice bit of pad in there. One thing to note though, there's no mesh or anything on the back here. This is designed as a military pack. So when you're wearing body armour, things like mesh and, you know, air spaces and all that become completely irrelevant. However, if you're using this, you know, with civilian use, this is going to be a little bit more sweaty than some of the other packs out there. However, this material that I've got, the stuff facing your back, is really comfortable. It's really decent, but it just doesn't give you that air gap or anything like that. Okay, so that's the back of the pack covered there. All we've got left to talk about is the waist strap. Okay, so you've got a really nice waist strap here. It's closed with a berg buckle like so, and the adjustments come from outside to in. So when you're wearing a pack, you just pull it in, cinch it in, and that's a lot more ergonomic than if the straps would come out this way. And this is really easy to operate with gloved hands and stuff. You just pop that through and it comes off. So that's really good. The waist strap is also removable, okay? So these straps here, you basically just undo at this point here, and you can take these sections off. Okay, you can take them completely off. You've got to kind of fiddle with the whole thing, basically pass straps through and all that. But if you wanted to go out without using the waist strap, if you again using it in a military environment, if you're using belt kit or you've got body armour on or both, you can take this section off and just have the lumbar pad on. And you can take the lumbar pad completely off as well if you want to. So it's scalable basically. Also, to give the pack rigidity, what you've got, if I undo this Velcro panel here, is you've got an aluminium frame. Okay, so that goes all the way from there, all the way around, and then across the bottom. And that's held in place with that Velcro panel, and you can lift it out if you want to. I'd have to undo these straps here, but you can take that completely out if you want to take it out. And that's protected by this big panel here with the foam pad inside. Okay, what we'll do now is we'll have a look inside the pack. All right then, so open up the top lid then. What we've got is a roll top lid, obviously closed with a Fastex buckle there. This is really decent, it's really quick to access, and obviously it keeps the weather outside of your pack. And talking of which, the whole pack has got this waterproof lining in. Now, it's not going to be 100% waterproof because you've got stitching going through and seams and stuff like that. But I tell you what, it'd have to be really bad weather conditions for any kind of moisture to get inside this pack, because it's completely covered with this stuff. So I'm thinking of taking this out without a rucksack liner just to see how it fares in bad weather. I'll let you know how I'll get on with that. But yeah, really well lined, really well protected against the weather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out this liner with all my gear in it, and you can have a look inside. Okay, so it's got a zip on this side that gives you the access to the inside. And then basically the only other thing that's inside here is the bladder carrier. Okay, so you've got a big pouch there, and you could fit a massive water bladder in there. I mean, at least a 3 litre, if not bigger. Inside there, you've got the hanging point for it there. And then also what you've got is ports for the bladder. So where are we? One on this side here, and then you've got, where are we? This one here. So you could use that for running your bladder tube through, or if you had a radio inside, you could use that to put a radio in, and then you could put your cables for antennas or for a handset or something running through there. So that's the inside of the pack there. So that's the functions and features of the pack covered there then. What I'm going to talk about now is how I see this being best used. Now, this is designed as a military pack, okay? It's not designed as a, an ultralight backpacker's pack. So obviously it's a great bit of kit for use with military, all right? The fact that it's really bomb proof, and I'll go into that in a minute. It's very modular. Obviously it's covered in PALS webbing, so you can stick pouches all over it. And it's just got simple, well thought out features, so your kit is accessible when you need to get to it. Just makes it ideal for military use. Also, it's great for bushcraft use. Again, with it being bomb proof, a little spark of a fire or something isn't going to set fire to your pack. It's not made out of ultra lightweight materials that are going to melt quickly. It is Cordura, but it's not going to be so susceptible to damage than some of the ultra lightweight gear that's out there. So bushcraft use as well. And yeah, you can use it for backpacking, but just bear in mind it's not going to be as light as some of the other options out there. What I'm going to talk about next then are pros and cons of the pack. Pros first then. Okay, so this is a mega bomb-proof, robust pack. That's the first pro. You'd have to really try hard to damage this pack. Okay, you could parachute with it. You could chuck it out the back of trucks. You could patrol through dense bush and foresty like I'm in here, and it's going to come out absolutely no problems whatsoever. So that's the first one. The second one is it's scalable and compressible. Okay, so even though it's a relatively good size, 48 litres including the top lid, you could compress this fairly small and still use it as a day sack. It'd be fairly big for a day sack, but you could use it as a day sack. But then you could pack it right out, especially with external pouches on it and stuff, and you could 100% use this for 2 to 3 days, if not longer, in the field, depending on how much gear you've got to carry. If you was using it for military use, you could definitely use this for several days in the field at a time. Okay. And the next thing I'll say about this, the next pro that I'm going to give about this is it carries the load really, really comfortably. The fact that it's got that aluminium frame, it's got the padding system in the back, and the improved shoulder straps that Savotta have now made, just means that it carries loads really, really well. And I carried this on my Savotta remote military challenge, and it was, 52 Ks over 2 days with, I had about 35 pound in it, up and down some good hills as well. And this carried this, the load brilliantly. I mean, it felt like the pack was glued to my back. It wasn't moving around at all. Once you've got that waist strap cinched in, the sternum strap done up nice and tightly, it just sticks to your back. So that's a great pro for this pack. Okay. So cons. First one I'll say is the weight. So it's 2.4 kilos dry with nothing in it. That's not uber heavy, but it's not light either. Okay, and that's because of the fact it's made mainly of 1000D Cordura. It's got lots of good padding where it needs it. So the weight is not super light, but again, for a pack this size, 48 litres, it's not super heavy either, really, to be fair. The next con I'm going to say about this then is something I mentioned on the functions and features, is this back panel here. If you're in a warm environment, like it's quite warm here today actually, and you're carrying this as a civilian, your back is probably going to sweat a bit more with this because it's got no air gap, and it's got no mesh or anything like that to disperse sweat. But like I say, it's designed for military, so that's irrelevant when you're wearing body armour. Okay, the next one then is there's a fair bit of loose straps on this pack. Now, I'm really surprised they didn't put strap tidiers on places like the load lifters here and on the side compression straps. So you wouldn't necessarily need strap tidiers, even an elastic piece there, like what's on the Savotta Carriage, would keep those straps nice and tidied away instead of them just being loose. And I mean, I've put some sniper tape on these, and then what I'll do is I'll just tuck them away a little bit, but it would have been better to have something built into the pack to keep them tidy. And the same for the main compression straps on the back there as well. Maybe it's just me being OCD, but I like to keep things neat and tidy. So that's my third con, is the loose straps that are around quite a bit on this pack. So then this pack's available from Savotta. It's the Finnish website that sells all this gear, and on the Savotta website too. It's available in this lovely camouflage pattern, the MO5. It's also available in multicam. It's available in green, brown, which is actually a really nice colour, and black as well. So there's 5 different options for colours. So to summarise then, this is a great bomb-proof pack. I really like the size of this. I love to go for that kind of 45 litre type size. That's something I particularly like. Keeps your kit nice and compact. It's really sturdy, really bomb-proof. It's got some great features on it. I love that external pocket on the back there. The waist strap's really nice. It feels really comfy. the fact that it cinches from the outside in, and you can whack pouches on that waist strap as well. There's loads of great little features built into this pack that I think makes it just a perfect pack for being out in the woods, doing your bushcraft, or out on the hills even for a few days at a time. So, you know, if you like Savotta gear, I would 100% recommend this. They've definitely upped their game from their previous lines of packs, the Jacari ones. So has anyone out there got one of these packs? What's your thoughts on it? Okay, have you got any other pros and cons that you've kind of thought about the pack? Do you like using it? Have you enjoyed using it? Let me know what you think in the comments. And last thing before I go, I'd just like to say a big thumbs up for all those guys that are supporting the channel, all the members that have joined as members on the channel. If you want to do that, just have a look. It's on the description on my page. Yeah, really appreciate your support. Thanks for that, guys. And as always, stay prepared.